So what we have here is what's called a system of equations, and that just means there's more than one equation. Now, if we look at these two equations, you'll notice that both of them have two variables. They have an x and a y. Now, what they're asking us to do is to find the value of both x and y for both of these equations. Now, if you want to find two variables, you have to have two equations. And we have two equations, so we're good to go. So the next thing is, what method are we going to use to do this? So there's two methods for solving substitution equations. One method is called elimination, and the other method is called substitution. Anytime that you have a variable isolated by itself in one of your equations, like we do here, you want to use substitution. And here's how that works. This first equation gives us a value for y. It tells us that y is equal to 2x plus 2. In the second equation, I can replace or substitute the y with the value 2x plus 2 because y is the same thing as 2x plus 2. So let's see why we'd want to do that. So let's take our second equation. So I have 2x plus 5. And then instead of y, I'm going to replace y with the value 2x plus 2 because we know they're equivalent. And that gives me this equation. Now this is good because now I have an equation that only has one variable. And we can solve an equation with one variable. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to now solve this. The first step in solving this equation is to distribute. So anytime you have something being multiplied times parentheses and there's more than one thing inside, we distribute. So we're going to multiply 2x and 2 by 5. And so that's going to give us 2x plus 10x plus 10 equals 19. Now we're going to continue solving this. Next, we're going to combine like terms. So I can combine the 2x and the 10x together. That gives me 12x plus 10 equals 19. And now I have a two-step equation. So I'm just going to solve this equation. Most of you were probably taught to put a line down through the equal sign. That's to remind you to do the same operation on both sides of the line. You can do whatever you want to this equation as long as you keep it balanced and do the same thing on both sides. So the next step would be to subtract 10 from both sides. So minus 10, minus 10. That goes away. Now I have 12x equals 9. Last step is to divide both sides by 12. Divide by 12. And instead of changing this into a decimal by doing 9 divided by 12, I'm actually just going to leave this as a fraction and simplify it to 3/4. Now, why did I do that? Well, in general, in algebra, we like to leave it as a fraction instead of a decimal. And the other reason is if I look over at the answers, I can see that they're all fractions. So that gives me a hint to leave it as a fraction. Now, this gave me my x value. I'm halfway there. Look at my answers. The first value is an x value. The second value is the y value. A is the only one that has 3/4. So it looks like my answer is probably A. But let's be safe. Let's go ahead and check the y value. And let me also show you how to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take this value of x that we just got. So we got x is equal to 3/4. And I'm going to substitute that back into the original first equation for x. So I'm going to replace x with 3/4. And let's see what happens when I do that. So I have y equals, give me 1 second, y equals 2. And then instead of x, I'm going to replace it with the value 3/4. And then that's plus 2. So go ahead and simplify this. So 2 times 3/4 gives me 6/4 plus 2. And that gives me, let's see, 14/4. And if I look at my answers, they're in mixed number form. So 4 goes into 14 3 times with a remainder of 2. So I have 3 2/4, which simplifies to 3 1/2. And there it is. There's the y value, and that's the same value that's in A. So we did it right. Now, if you wanted to check this answer, you could take these values of x and y, and you could plug them in to these two equations and make sure it works. So what does that mean? That means if you plug it in, the left side of the equation should equal the right side of the equation. And if it does, you know you got the right answer. So keep up the hard work, and you will master the math.